Hi, everybody. Welcome to the November 2022 Oak Hills Park Authority meeting. I'm going to start with call to order and roll call. So I will ask for the authority members in order that they're on my screen to just respond back with here if you're here. So I'll start with Richard Dellinger. Richard, can you hear me? Oh, I think there's a freeze
Here.
that counts. Alan Dutton,
Yeah.
Jennifer McAllister,
Here.
TJ Trimboli, I saw was here, but doesn't seem to be here right now. And Denise Brown sends her regrets. She may be able to join, but I don't think so. And I, Joan Drosco, am here. So we have 4 for now. I think TJ will try to come back in. I may text him in progress just to make sure. But moving on, the next order of business is, so we don't have a quorum right now. We can't really do any votes or conduct any business. But once we reestablish that quorum, hopefully we can go back to some of the things that would require a vote. Item number 2 on the agenda would, because it's acceptance of the minutes from 1025 meeting. And there are some changes. So we'll have to pause that until we have 5 people here and reestablish a quorum. Public comment, we can have public comment though. So I'll pause and ask Mark if there's anybody in the participants.
No, there isn't.
Okay. Then I think we can close public comment for now. And that'll bring us to the report of the chair. I like to keep these short and relatively sweet. We're getting into the off season, and that means not a ton of golf activity, but a lot of maintenance activity, and a lot of kind of behind the scenes work that we can do on governance and contracts and commercial debt and those sorts of things.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, TJ.
Sorry to interrupt. It's TJ. I just wanted to let you guys know that I am here. For some reason, it joined me as an attendee versus a panelist.
Ooh.
So I got it all figured out. I'm here.
Perfect. Okay.
Sorry.
So for the record, TJ Trimboli is here now. That establishes a quorum. I'll just continue and we'll go back to the minutes really quickly because I'll be very brief. A lot of behind the scenes work that can be done on our part, and we intend to do that with bylaws review, with some contract work, and with some comprehensive plan work that kind of lays out what our vision for the park and for the next couple of years should be. So all of that's very exciting. One of the things that we'll discuss today is later on in new business, pricing proposal for the 23 calendar year. That's for rounds and season passes. And otherwise, rounding out the summer, this fall, October financials ended very well. So we're continuing that trend of kind of outperforming our plans and outperforming prior years. It's great news and it's a credit to everybody. Especially Paul, Jim, and Mark, working through everything that they do and all of their staff that support them. So thank you guys. If we don't say it enough, thank you. That's going to be the end of my report. I just want to go back to item number 2 really quickly now that we have 5 people, and ask for a motion to discuss the minutes from the 1025 special meeting. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
It's Alan Dutton, and a second.
I'll second.
Second.
We'll give it to Jennifer. So I just wanted to note one thing of substance on page 3. There's a report of the vote to accept the prior minutes from the September 17th meeting. And it says that there were 4 in favor and 1 abstention. There are actually 5 in favor, myself, I was omitted. So the list of names should just start with Andrasco and then can continue and change 5 or 4 to 5. And then the abstention still stays. We would not be able to conduct business if we only had 4 people voting in favor. That's not a majority. So that's the one change that I had that was substantial. And then I know there were some emails traded that went into some name misstatements and a couple of other things. I don't know if anybody wanted to bring them up particularly right now, or if the email would suffice, and then documentation of that email would come in this meeting's minutes. But if anybody else would like to bring up an edit, please do.
Well, I sent a note about my last name being cut off, so it's Dellinger, Dellinger. So I think the last couple letters were cut off.
Yeah.
And then we also had Carl Dickens' name on the, I thought I saw on there as well. Was that correct? Did I miss that? Was I right about that? I think I was.
Interesting. I didn't notice that.
I noticed Richard's name was spelled incorrectly underneath.
Oh, that is interesting. Yeah, I didn't even notice this, but yeah, it does say absent Carl Dickens.
Right, so that doesn't make any sense, right?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
He was absent, but he's also not expected to be here.
Yeah.
So we can take out that absent Carl Dickens line just in the second section.
Okay.
Okay. Then we can do a just a approval, objection, abstention vote to accept the minutes from the 10:25 special meeting. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. And any abstentions? Okay, unanimously passes. And we can move on to, I believe, oh, my mistake. Management reports, item 5. So we have write-ups in the document that I hope everybody's been able to look through. If we could, kind of zip through these, add anything that's incremental to the reports. We'll start with Paul.
For the golf operations update. Okay, well, now that it's mid-November, leaves have come down and continue to come down, and the temperatures have dropped into the 40s. Golf at Oak Hills moves into the full fall golf season, and it starts to slow down dramatically. We're continuing to see some golfers on Saturdays and Sundays, but the weekdays are very slow now, partly due to the cold temperatures. Last week was busy. We had a great Thursday through Sunday due to the nice weather. This week, not so much. So all the outings, our golf events, our tournaments, our high school golf, our golf clinics, golf schools, all are finished for the season, and all were very successful. And even though the rounds have gone down slightly since the fall of 2020, our Learn to Play golf programs and clinics have increased 10% each of the last 2 years. So we're growing the game at Oak Hills Park. Jim Shell is also helping create a synthetic tee line on the range for us to accommodate all these new golfers with the limited space that we have. So that's basically an artificial turf line that we can use on rainy days and let a lot of the newer golfers beat it up a little bit. The Oak Hills Men's Golf Association has had its final meeting for the 2022 golf season and has been discussing numerous tournament improvements and ways to grow their membership in 2023. Both the men's and women's golf associations are looking at a new tournament software program that is more automated and friendlier to use for the golfers in their tournaments. And Steve Shepard, he's been an integral part of this. So I just want to say thank you to Steve for doing a lot of side work for us. We're in our full second season with our 68 golf carts, and all of them are in great shape, really running well. We did have a golf tech come a lot this year and kind of fix a few problems that weren't our problems, just part of the golf cart, but everything's really running well, and we're going to kind of put them away soon for or half of the fleet for next year. The golf shop has a November golf sale going on now. There's some good discounts, and we're just trying to move out some of the 2022 product and make way for 2023 new spring product next year. So at the moment, we pretty much have a staff of 20 people on the golf operations, down from a high of anywhere from 36 to 40 during peak summer. Most of these staff members are working less than 10 hours a week. We're just trying to give everybody a few hours to be fair to everyone. Our staff members range from 65 and up and 22 and younger, and they've all really done a great job this year. Our golf shop hours now are 8:30 to 3:30, and the golf course opens at 9 o'clock. We've looked at the forecast. We got a lot of cold mornings, so we'll probably be moving it 10 o'clock start time on Friday, or maybe the 27th, another week or so. We've had 5 frost delays so far, and we're going to get a lot coming up. Definitely expecting more. The weekend of November 5th and 6th was Saturday and Sunday. We had frost delays both days. And I think both days we had at least a dozen golfers decide to go home. So they go home because they just don't want to wait around. There's really nowhere for them to wait. Or it kind of interferes with the rest of the day when we push, let's say, a 9:20 tee time back to 11 o'clock. And so some people decide to go home, but that's what we deal with this time of year. And during the 22 golf season, we hired 20 new members to our golf staff to ensure everything's good. There's a lot of turnover, people getting older and kids moving on who were high school and college employees of ours. But things ran really smooth and everyone did a good job. We'll have many returning staff members, and I'm sure we'll have some new faces around next spring. We have 15 outings tentatively scheduled for the 2023. When I say tentatively, that means we don't have a deposit check yet, but they do love their date and they're excited to come back to Oak Hills. We've added a new outing. I think it's going to be a good one called Tunnel to Towers. I'm sure everyone's familiar with that. And we are fairly booked through the end of July of 2023 for our outings. So August will be a good month, if anyone can help, to try to fill in some of those dates. We have a lot of open dates in August, and then outings resume again in September and some in October. So in the next 30 days, I'm planning on making a visit to some of the elementary schools in the area to help promote the game of golf and encourage the younger juniors in our area to play a little more golf. And maybe they want to try out for the Norwalk and High School Brian McMahon teams. We have some kids who decide they want to play golf in 9th grade, and that doesn't really help the golf team. So we got to get them when they're about 6th grade. So we're going to try to do that. I'm also going to work on securing some new outings for the 2023 golf season. I might make a few visits to some places and some phone calls. I'm going to work on a quarterly newsletter to go out here going forward. We'll see those in December, the spring, the summer, and then the fall. And also, we're going to do a year-end letter. I usually do a spring letter and a fall letter, say welcome and at the end of the year, thank you. And then we're going to tour a couple other golf facilities the next few weeks to look at their simulators. I know Al and I are going to plan a date to go to Rye Golf next week, and probably another one as well. So other than that, things have gone well. It's been a good year, considering inflation's gone a little high. It might have impacted some sales in the golf shop, but I don't really affected our golf course revenue as far as green fees and carts. So I think we got a lot of new golfers coming to Oak Hills, a lot of new people to the area. I think people are really happy with the golf course, and I anticipate another great season next year. And if anyone has any questions, I'm glad to answer anything you like.
Paul, when do you foresee us going to winter pricing?
Typically when we hold down pull the bag drop, which we're probably doing soon, but I'd say typically when the hours go to 10 o'clock to 3, 5-hour window there, we'll reduce the rates a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Nice report.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I can never remember the order these go in. But next up is Jim.
All right, so everything's good with the golf course. The grass going into the winter is looking better than ever, and it's still been growing like crazy for mid-November. But these upcoming temperatures should put a stop to it. It's kind of good in a way to give the grass a chance to bounce back from all the wear and tear it takes in this late season. You know, the more it gets when it's not growing, the less it bounces back normally. But now it's pretty good. There is a danger in that, though. If the plant is too succulent when we get these cold temperatures, then we could end up with damage from it has a process. The grass has a process of hardening off, and as the temperatures cool, we're at risk of the same type of damage we had in the spring on the greens. So hopefully, you know, we don't have too much moisture here. It doesn't look like we're going to for the next week or so. That really gives the plants a chance to go through their process without much damage. We've gotten over the hump on leaves. We're getting ready to start some projects. We've already put a drain line in number 6 fairway, not too long, maybe 35 feet. But it was a critical spot where mowing was, you know, this one spot was constantly skipped because it was too wet. We're going to do the lesson tee pad expansion for Paul. While I said we were going to use some native rocks to sort of build a retaining wall, we're not going to need it. So we'll just have a gentle slope in front of the tee. We'll excavate some soil and relocate it to the front to put that slope in. We'll put a bed of gravel down. We'll build a form and pour some concrete, hopefully with a little help from somebody that knows how to do that kind of thing. And we'll likely be finishing off the area in the early spring. I think it might get a little bit late for sod here coming up soon. We're also gonna take the sand out of the bunker, a number 2 green, and fill it in and put grass on it in the spring. The original architect never had it in his plan. It was built after the fact. I don't know why. But if you look at the historic aerials of the golf course, in 1970, there was no bunker there. So, you know, that's only a year after it was built. And we're going to return it to that because it's the original intent. The green complex is hard enough as if any of you golf. We don't really need it there.
Correct.
Yeah. Sorry?
I agree.
Oh, okay. If time allows, we'll try to put some drainage into the lower section of 1 fairway. But again, the way the temperatures are dropping, I'm not sure we're gonna have to do that. We did lose one of the trees that we planted over at the tennis. We planted 5 trees over there, and the middle one by the bank of 2 tennis courts, it came loose from its support stick. I don't even know what they call it. And in the rain, it snapped and it's gone, but we'll replace it as soon as we can. At the old pro shop, we put the new boiler in. It's now fully operational. We paid to have the thermostat. Well, we paid to have a leak repaired, but we had to have the thermostat moved into the main room. And we had to have a small repair at my house. We bartered with the electrician, so the work was essentially free. But we gave away a cart, which he's going to use on his 3-acre property. He's got to replace the batteries because they're dead. And I'm glad to see it not be a yard ornament in my yard in the back of the shop here. And then OSHA has issued some citations. We haven't received the actual formal list yet, but we're already in the process of taking the steps. I'm working with an insurance rep who is well, he's doing pro bono work to us, but I think he's along with the city's insurance policy. He's going to be helping me out and abating, I don't know, 22 issues. I think 19 of which might be legitimate. I think the other 3 we may have, we may allow, or we may be allowed to just take those off the list because it has to do with using respirators. And so far, we don't have anything that we use that requires a respirator. There's a whole bunch of requirements if you do use respirators, if you have to use respirators, and we don't. Good news, we did.
Just to
Sorry.
talk about, yeah, just so the authority knows, I did spend about half an hour sitting down with Jim, going over, looking at the OSHA items. I had a little experience at the yacht club because we had OSHA over there. Certain things. So I don't know too much about agriculture, but I do know things about eye wash stations and lists of chemicals and stuff like that we use. And Jim, did this guy from the insurance, has he met with you? Yes, has he gone over the list?
Yeah, we met yesterday morning.
Okay,
Yeah.
how did that go basically?
Very good, very good. I mean,
Yeah.
they're going to be a big help. He's going to get the fire department in here to teach us about the monthly inspection of each extinguisher and to train a select few on my staff to use them. And the rest of the staff will be told if there's a fire, run, don't use the extinguisher, which unfortunately is the way it kind of has to be. So
I thought it was interesting that Jim was telling me that this OSHA inspection was not just for regular, for profit industry. It was actually for the fire department and the police department and city properties. So it was like a city inspection by OSHA, which I think is somewhat interesting, Jim, right? You were telling me that?
yeah, the division of OSHA is the Connecticut OSHA, and they're mainly responsible for municipalities in the state. So they're only visiting municipalities. If Don were to be inspected, federal OSHA would come and look at his spot. The federal OSHA can come and look here, but I doubt they would unless there was a major injury or a death or something like that. So,
So I think it's fair to say that we have a list and we're chipping away at it with help
Yep.
from a consultant, and we'll get it done. And I don't think that hopefully there'll be no financial exposure to us, but we'll find out, correct?
Yep. I think
Okay.
we'll be fine. There may be some fines, but this guy is gonna really help us try and chisel away at the amount that they're gonna be, if any. So
Thank you.
we finally got our fairway mowers. We've only been waiting, 15 months? And we used them today, and they're great. The guys that use them love them, and they cut nicely, and worth the wait. And other than that, I don't have much else to say. If anybody has any questions, have at it. All right.
No questions. We do have an agenda item later that Jim, you can walk us through
Okay.
on commercial debt financing of greens mowers and a weather station.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, on to the next one, and that is Mark.
Okay, hi everyone. As you can see from my report and from earlier emails, our audit is done. We have the report, everything is signed off, everything went very well. And as part of the agreement with the city for our loan agreement, once we receive the audited financial statements, we then owe a 1% annual amount of our gross golf revenue. So I did that today. I cut the check to pay down our debt, and that came out to just over $20,000. One update to the information that was sent out on the agenda, the number 1 under financial and operational activity, it should read the month of October golf rounds are down 11% versus prior year, but up 9% over monthly budget. So that, along with, as you can see there, we beat budget on revenue, we beat budget on expenses. So As Joe mentioned earlier, just the first 4 months of the year, very good so far. The one thing in addition to what I had written out here is my only concern is we still are owed partial rent from the last quarter of fiscal year 22 from Dry Dock Smoking Aces. It's been several months now. I do have the Q1 revenue share information, and I'm working on that and the utility allocation currently, but it is several months old now. So that is a concern of mine.
So Mark, what were the dollars for the first quarter fiscal year revenue from the halfway house and from Don's area?
I don't have the breakout on me. I need to work through. I'm behind this month. I was on vacation for a week and working on some of the pricing stuff. So I'm definitely more behind than usual, but I should be caught up by early next week.
So we don't know did he give us the numbers? What it is?
Well, he gives me a file. I need to work through the file and look through there's the halfway house, there's parties, and then there's restaurant. So
You add the
and
three of them together to come up with a number, right?
say again.
You'll add the three of them together and that comes up with the total revenue, right?
Yes, but I kind of do like a little mini audit every quarter. I look through it and make sure the numbers work and so forth.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure. Any questions on the numbers? I went through it quickly just to move things along, but
Looking good.
thanks.
All right, thank you, Mark.
Sure.
Picking up on the agenda, closing out management reports and going into committee reports. We have first one is tennis, usually provided by Denise. But Rich, I don't know if you wanted to pick it up and take over the mantle for this one.
Yeah, Denise mentioned she may not make it tonight, so I wish her a speedy recovery.
Yeah.
For the tennis side, I want to first thank Jim for those trees at the tennis facility. It was a nice addition and unexpected surprise. Yeah, the weather's also catching up with tennis. Although we had about 16 guys and women last Saturday, we're getting too cold to play. And I spoke to Jim today, and at the first frost, he'll be watching the courts, and we'll probably be. It could happen this weekend that we start, closing them down. We will try to get in the last adult clinic that Denise set up on Saturday if the registration's there and the courts are open. We will continue with the Friends, though, have fundraising meetings monthly throughout the year. We're going to continue with our effort to match the 7,000 anonymous grant to continue to have funds come in through at least December 31st, and maybe we'll continue it. And about a week ago, we actually had a few of the 8 o'clock tennis players came to the Friends and have made an offer to try to provide some shade over the new patio. They're going to go to a landscape architect and come up with some kind of drawing. I mentioned this to Jim today, and we'll be bringing it to the group as soon as we have something in plans. They unfortunately lost one of their members, a man named Andy, I think it was Gillard. And there was a service for him this past Sunday, and they're looking to raise some funds and do some kind of tribute to him at the course. So I'll keep you posted on that, how that goes.
Beautiful, thank you. Any questions on tennis? All right. Alan, did you want to provide any update on the restaurant?
No restaurant reports at this moment in time, Joe.
Okay, thank you. Next up would be supporters with Jerry. I can see Jerry. Yeah. Jerry, you're on mute.
Yeah, I have a dog too, so it's something. No, I don't have a formal report for the month. So I will have one shortly.
Okay. I will look forward to it in December. And then finally is the Nature Advisory Committee from Audrey. Hi, Audrey.
Hi, Joe. Hi, everybody. So nice to see you tonight. Yeah, I have a few things that I wanted to talk about tonight. First of all, I want to thank Jim Shell and Anthony Hilton for the crew that came out and helped clear away our meadow, our challenging meadow. We've got an idea for spring, Jim, that I want to tell you about. The Norwalk Land Trust and the Norwalk River Watershed Association, I've been in conversation with them about getting some goats from I don't know if you saw in the Norwalk Hour recently, the other day, an article about the fat and sassy goats of Bedford, New York that are for hire. And they are being used all over our area from the Hudson to the Housatonic for eating up all those invasives. So that's something I'm going to look at to see what it might cost to have the goats brought in to Oak Hills Park this spring. So let me see what the cost is on that. So this winter, I think we want to have another winter another winter trail walk. We've done that in the past with some of the folks from the Norwalk Tree Advisory of the city. And in the spring, plan for some forest bathing and bird watching trail walk, which is always very popular. And Paul, you mentioned that you do an e-newsletter. I really encourage the authority to look at, I don't know, hiring somebody at least part-time, something for communications. If there was an e-newsletter that would communicate both, all three features of the park, what's going on, that would be really huge. So I really encourage that. And I'm not sure where things stand with the remediation on where the Eversource took out that line of pine trees. Every once in a while, I hear from Paul Sotnick, the assistant tree warden for the city, about approaching, I know a plan was submitted to Eversource, but Jim in particular, have you heard anything?
Audrey, yeah, I'll be going to the tree advisory committee meeting on Tuesday. So
Great.
I'll try to find something out then.
Okay. Yeah, we're hopeful that they'll do something more than just put in a boring line of bushes or something. That'll be a little more in keeping with the park's beautiful landscaping. And so I think that's kind of it. I think going into maybe at the beginning of the new year, it'd be really great to have a meeting where all three constituencies of the park kind of come together so we can hear what we're all doing, meet each other again, face to face. I think that's really important. And see how we can be of support to one another. I would encourage that. Maybe we can meet at the restaurant. But I think in the new year, that would be a really wonderful way to gather and see each other face to face again. So I hope that can happen.
So Audrey, I hear you when you talk about communications and marketing and stuff like that. And, from a big picture point of view, as we move further forward with what we're going to look like and as far as management goes and possible GM situation, etc., this could be something that under that umbrella where we may have some opportunities. So I think we're going to be looking at that as we move further forward.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I mean, through social media and, we all have different email lists, is to combine them and, chat up what's going on at the, golf, tennis and the nature center, and use that as a vehicle for all of us we're all part of one park, so I just can't encourage that enough. A lot of people I talk to say, I don't really know what's going on over there, so maybe we could do more. I think it'd be worth it.
Yep. Very good.
Thank you so much, Audrey.
You're welcome.
Item number 7 of the agenda, old business, new business. I guess this falls under old business. But Jim would like to make a proposal for commercial debt, as I mentioned earlier. So I will, I'll make a motion to open up for discussion about commercial debt financing of the greens mowers and the weather station. And I'll ask Jim to introduce the ideas. I need a second, sorry.
I'll second.
Thank you, Alan. So Jim, go ahead, introduce.
Okay, the weather station, there are two options. One is out of our league. The other is probably $2,500 to $3,000. I haven't gotten a formal proposal on that yet. And I'm being told that it will sync up with my irrigation software. So that's good. And why didn't we look at that in the first place? Well, they want to sell the bigger piece. So I would think for $2,500 to $3,000, we might want to pay for that outright. That's a decision for you guys. But I also have a proposal for 2 new greens mowers. And what we had planned for several years ago was $66,000 cost for 2. Since COVID, I've had to, instead of going with one of the big 3 manufacturers being John Deere, Toro, or Jacobson. Well, Jacobson's kind of out of the question now because they've fallen off the map as far as reliability and quality and service. But Toro and John Deere, you know, their prices for 2 similar mowers is about $25,000 more than this company that's relatively new to the United States, but has been building mowers in Japan for 70 years or something like that. And it's called a Baroness, and 2 of them will cost almost $76,500. I think the actual number is $76,467.60. That's to be financed over 5 years like we normally do, with a $1 buyout, meaning we own it at the end. And it would be similar to everything else, where it'll be 6 months of payments and 6 months in the winter, no payments. They're good mowers. We tried them out one day. They cut well. I haven't found a reason to dislike them. But if we get this vote, I will be calling several guys who do own them in the Northeast just to make sure before I pull the trigger on that. And that's my thoughts on that.
So the way a couple of discussions with Mark about the finances of all of this, the way I'm thinking about this for everybody else's benefit when we talk through the financials, is that on the commercial debt line, we have already foregone the purchase of a utility cart, which was about 10,000 in the budget for commercial debt. It'll be pushed to a future year, but we can deal with that in a future year budget, right? We went 7,000 over on the fairway mowers. And this would be about 10,000 over on the greens mowers. So I'm sorry.
Sorry to interrupt.
It's okay.
Now that our new fairway mowers are in, I'll be selling 2, and I'm hoping to get 12 to 13 for both of them.
That's
Cash.
what I mean.
So take that into consideration as well, please.
That's a great consideration.
Right.
Because the net effect of everything that I just said is minus 10 for utility cart, plus 10 for greens mowers, and plus 7 for fairway mowers. So it's a net effect of plus 7 over budget on the commercial debt, which is really not all at once. It's over 5 years plus interest. So maybe 1,500, 2,000 in this fiscal year, which is pretty absorbable, even more absorbable as you talk about selling for 10 to 15,000, not to be too specific on the price. So that makes it pretty easy for me to swallow. And I also kind of cast this in the same light, a slightly different light, but kind of next to it as, how we're doing on the capital budget, which is we've approved $1,000 overage on the boiler in the old Pro House and 5,000 for fencing in 2 spots, I think. So that's about 6,000 over budget, which, you know, selling the mowers would really more classically go against some of that cost. But you know, it's not, we're not actually going egregiously. We've had a couple of proposals we've gone over, but you know, we're not going egregiously over budget. And we do right now have sort of the ability to enter into you know, going over budget. The final piece that's in my mind is that with interest rates increasing, the cost of debt is probably just going to go up. Not to say that we should just finance right now, but if we have the opportunity to buy something that we need now versus a year from now, one, the cost will probably increase and the cost to borrow will probably increase a year from now. So it would make sense to make that purchase now. That's the way I'm thinking about it. And probably clear from that I would support going after both. But happy to hear other thoughts and open up for debate.
So Joe, I agree with you, especially with the added icing on the cake with this extra possible 10 to 12 grand in selling the current. Is that a reality, Jim? Do you think? Are there people out there that
I do. I did a little research today on one of the John Deeres. We're going to keep a John Deere. We've always had a backup, so we're gonna keep one just in case we come across the occasional day where we need to get the fairways done a lot quicker than normal. So we can send that third one out, and we have a backup just in case. So one of the John Deeres will be sold, and our old backup, which is a hunk of, you know what, we're gonna probably hawk it for $2,500 or something. So
you still think you could get, what do you say, 10 to 12 for those two items, like 10 grand for one, 12, 2.5 grand for the other?
I think we could get 12 to 13 realistically.
Okay. Excellent.
That sounds good to me.
Rich or TJ, any thoughts? If not, we'll go to a vote. Okay. Already made the motion for discussion, so I think we can just go to a vote, and I'll do a roll call if that's okay. Alan, how do you vote?
In favor? Aye.
Aye. Rich?
Aye, in favor.
Thank you. Jennifer?
I'm in favor.
And TJ?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. So I think unanimous. Go after both, Jim.
Gotta sell it.
Yeah. But also go after selling it. And to be clear, it's the $2,500 weather station, not the super expensive one.
I believe it's not going to be more than $3,000.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
I neglected to put on the agenda as I was forming it the discussion of pricing for calendar year of 2023. So per rules, can I get a motion to add discussion of calendar year 2023 pricing to the agenda?
So moved.
And can I get a second?
I second.
Okay. Thank you. So let's go right into that discussion. We will have an annual meeting in December to formally vote on this and have, public comment on the pricing with a more formal schedule and more formal documentation of all of that. But this is to kind of have the management team, get something to us that we can react to thematically, numerically, and then they can go back and kind of sharpen pencils and make adjustments as we've directed for that December meeting. So I think between Paul and Mark, you guys will cover the presentation. So please take it away.
Well, I would like to say, I think there's room to raise our rates. Last year, we might have done $1 for some juniors and seniors, maybe $2 for everybody else. Typically, we raise our membership fees $10 for the non-resident and $10 the membership fee for the residents. So I just think considering the way inflation is, we have to raise the rates because we have a lot of expenses. People have raised all sorts of rates on us, and the increases that we made for this year aren't really covering it. I think we got to be fair to everybody. It is a public park. It's there for the good of the people, but at the end of the day, we really got to stay in the black. I would say a minimum of $2 across the board for every rate we have, and $10 on the membership fees. And outings, I think you're going to have to raise that as well. Maybe it's another $3, 71, 72. Because in effect, we might have, lost a little money this year, considering that the expenses were really high across the board for every facet of the golf business.
Yeah, I think that's just something that we would need to explain when we raise the rates. Just that we're just it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Inflation's up. We're getting fuel surcharges. Jim can tell you. We just had a big discussion on that the other day. Just for anything that gets shipped to us, and Jim gets quite a bit shipped. Those shipping and handling charges are something. They're doubling, they're tripling. So we're not trying to gouge anyone. It's just we have to raise our rates to cover our expenses, which are raising. And one thing I'll mention, Paul, which I went over with you, is just for the season passes. There was a slight change in what I saw this year. I do an analysis. I've done it for the last 3 years, and we usually, the first year was we underpriced it. We knew that. Last year we did more than break even. We were a few percent above what we would have made if we didn't have them at all. And this year, what I saw was we're 25% profit margin, meaning that we made 25% more with the season passes than if we hadn't sold them, and those same players had played at a blended rate for what their category would be. A resident adult, a non-resident senior, and so forth. So I took that into account, and you would see it too if you look at the monthly sales report that I send out in my financial package. You'll notice that rounds in general are doing very well, but the non-revenue rounds, which is the season pass rounds, are down quite a bit. I don't have any real reason to explain it other than we kept the number of passes to 50, although I think technically 51 were sold, which is less than last year was 66, and the year before there was 88. So I think it's good because it seems that they're not taking up all the tee times, which I know there was a big concern of some of the regular players. And I think the players that are doing it, to be honest, the reasoning must be more to get the preferential reservation time, as opposed to let me play as many rounds as possible. So we're seeing less rounds played. And so I think it's advantageous to both parties. They're getting what they want in the earlier tee times, and we're making a little bit more profit margin.
Mm-hmm.
So,
can I just say, from a philosophical point of view, is that we're in Norwalk residents use it. We pay taxes. From a philosophical point of view, to me, I think if we can keep the raises down as much as possible for the residents of Norwalk, seniors, whatever it is, but we do define exactly how much business comes from that bucket and how much business comes from Golf Now, where these are out-of-towners, these are people in New York City and Queens and Long Island, whatever it is, and what do we charge them? Because those are the people that we should be going after and getting more money from. Now, obviously, you don't want to price yourself out of the marketplace, but if you take care of the people that are part of us, our family, and then you charge more for people that are outside of the family, I think that's something we need to look at. And almost the same with golf outings. When you come to golf outings, you got your not-for-profits, with your, Brian McMahon alumni and stuff like this, which there's not a lot of room there. But then again, if you can get some other type of outings where you're getting, maybe Talented Towers, as you said, and maybe some commercial outings, you can really charge them, more money. And those are the ones we should probably be looking at if we can. just from a philosophical point of view.
I agree with Alan completely. I would like to know what the surrounding golf courses in the area are doing for next year. What their thoughts are, or what, if you have any conversations, but I get that we need to raise prices, but I would like to be a little bit more sensitive to our family here in Norwalk and our community.
I think the general approach that I've seen here is we should be considerate of residents, we should be considerate of seniors, and we should be considerate of juniors, all for 3 different reasons. Without, as Alan mentioned, pricing non-residents out. Because one of the reasons why we are the course of choice and why non-resident usage has been going up is because we're kind of in an attractive pricing position. And that's good because we've also got the revenue. Now, did revenue keep up with costs in a 8% inflation sustained environment? No, nobody who adjusts their prices on an annual basis on January 1st of 2022 stayed up with inflation. But, we have the opportunity to rectify that a little bit, but we might get some compression on our side, which I think is something that we might have to deal with, because there's no way that we're going to be raising the 8%, as we think about prices in 2023 continuing to be higher than 2022, not at the 8% clip, but at some, rate. You're talking about 10% higher. I don't think we'll be raising 10% on non-residents. So we're going to have some compression. We just have to be conscious of that as we go into budget season. And we should weave that into kind of the preliminary budget that maybe we'll get done, Mark, in the January timeframe. As we kind of look forward to fiscal year 24, July 1, 23 through June 30th, 24. We should think through exactly how that will play out. But those are kind of just a codification of my thoughts on the topic.
I just have a question as a new board member. What's the time frame? When do you normally set these rates? So I have an idea what the deadline is of when they'll be voted on, say, for example.
So we will vote on these in our next meeting, which is scheduled for December 15th, I think. The third Thursday is early in December. And we'll use that as our annual meeting as well. And then they'll take effect January 1st.
Mm. Okay.
So. if
So
there's
even though our fiscal budget goes like July 1 to June 30th, we work on Norwalk's budget, so that's where we do. Is it just the price increases we talk about for Jan 1, not the budget in general for us, right?
Correct,
Joe?
Alan. Yes, correct. Yeah, the golf pricing is on a calendar year basis.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's really just so we don't have this kind of strange artificial price increase that comes July 1st, right?
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the summer season.
I understand. Okay.
And this is just for golf, I take it. The tennis, I take it, is done by whatever increases comes through Kings Highway?
Yes.
Yes, Rich. Kings Highway sets their own prices.
Right.
So we are doing a public hearing next meeting?
Oh, yeah. That's the requirement for us to change the price of access to the park for golf. That's our requirement.
Increase. Yep.
Increase.
So, it might behoove us, and I'll maybe spend some time, with you, Mark, and also with Paul, just to see, what, as Jennifer says, what is the marketplace at this moment in time with our competition? And, just to come up with some ideas, because I think we need to do that. Definitely.
And comparable, right? Like, we want comparable price increases. Like, what are that are the same, that consider themselves the same as us or similar to?
Yeah, we do
No,
that every year. we call, I call a fellow professionals, ask them what they're going to do for the following year. And we just pick some of the courses south of us and to the north of us.
Okay.
Paul, what do you think about the idea of maybe charging a little more to the golf now people, the non-residents, and
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on?
I told Mark, I looked at some other ones, courses around the country even, and non-residents are definitely paying a lot more to play golf. I agree with you. We can, keep it reasonable for some of the seniors and juniors and the residents. There's other things we can do. We can, certain times of day, we can get rid of an off-peak rate. I think we have so many locals and good golfers playing in the morning. We're one of the few golf courses go to 10-minute tee times. We can definitely make some extra revenue by going 9-minute tee times the first 3 hours of the day. Yep, it would work because they play fast, and it could be I don't know, a few 750 a week extra.
Interesting.
We are one of the few courses do 10-minute tee times. And as the day goes on, rounds get slower, but in the morning, our golfers are fairly quick.
Interesting. That's an interesting thought. Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, I
we'll do
agree
some
with-
comps. We are, we are competitive, and we'll do some comps with some other clubs in the area. I do think we're in the proximity of New York City, and if you go another 10 miles, 15 miles north of us, a lot of the golfers aren't willing to drive that far, as far as Manhattan and the 5 boroughs. So we're in a good spot.
Okay. Any other thoughts or discussion?
Well, just my 2 cents. I agree with Alan and Jennifer and Paul in terms of, trying to keep it lower for the groups they mentioned and higher for out of towners. I think that, whatever they can do in making that proposal, I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree. And, if we can get together with, in December, have kind of some financial, how do I want to put this, scenario analysis, right, of what the proposal that's eventually taking form is going to look like, and be comprehensive on ID cards, on greens fees, including any changes that you want to make to the structure of greens fees for twilight or peak time, whatever that may be, and then also for season passes, and see what the financial impact of all of that would be together. That's really what we need to be responding to and to be voting on. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Let me pull up my agenda again. Oh, good. We're already on item number 8. So we plan to go into executive session for a little while, and have a couple of discussions. So need to ask for a motion to enter into executive session and a second. So can we get that?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Jennifer.
I'll second.
Rich seconds. So we will go into the other link that we got to go into executive session, and we will come back in, I'm not going to try to guess how long, Mark. But Mark, you'll stick around and be here for us to come back when we get back into public session.
I got to take my dog out first, but yes.
Oh, I think there's plenty of time for that.
I think you got more than enough time.
Okay.
Sorry, real quick, for the Telesco secretary, if you want, you can sign off now. I will email Cheryl the end time.
Probably asleep. No, we can.
No, just raised hand, but on mute.
You have to unmute yourself.
Oh. Are we
Okay.
good to go?
Are we good?
Just left.
Okay.
Yes, we're good to go. Use the other link. I'll see you, some of us in 30 seconds.
Good night.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Paul. Okay, we've got all 5 attendees back. And there were no votes required coming out of executive session, just discussions. So the only thing left to do is to make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved in a second.
I second.
And we came back in at 8:42 and we ended at 8:42. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Mark.
Welcome.
Thank
Have a
you,
good night.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Joe.
Bye-bye.
Bye.